Welcome to this video as we continue building our RemindMe app from design to implementation using Kivy. In the previous part of this series, we created our virtual environment using UV, installed Kivy, and set up our project structure using best practices. In this video, we continue with the building blocks of our application. Our application is built on tabs and not screens. We shall have a tab panel widget that manages different widgets in tab. So if you are not familiar with tabs in Kivy, this video is for you. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment to support the content. Code with Eno. Alright, so before we continue, we're going to do a few modifications. Right now, if I start my application, it's going to run using UV. If I look at my make file, I can see here, UV run-m main. Now the problem with this, it has to do with the way I install Kivy empty. We can see from the Pi project that when you start with UV, it's going to try to download from this source. So if you don't have internet connection, you may face some issues with UV. So to prevent that from happening, I'm going to use my normal way of running all my application with Python -m main. So when I save that and I say make, I should have my application running. And now the second thing we want to fix is at the level of the header. We can see it seems like this header is bold. So if I look at my font, where I set my font for my label, I can see when we use bold, it uses this font. All right, so somehow this font is way bigger than what I expected. So in order to fix that, I'll go to my base.kivy where I actually established the header and remove this bold here and see what will happen. So with that out of the way, I'm going to restart. So I think right now it looks a little bit more, visible. All right, so let's look at what we are going to implement. So this is the section we're going to implement for now. This tiny section is the tab panel, and it contains buttons. Okay, and the buttons, when you click on the button, it switches between the different tab items. So we have the home app tab items that is displayed right now. When I click here, it displays the list where it lists all the different events and the stopwatch and the ads section. So we're going to start by implementing this tab panel and putting all the buttons here and see how we can switch between the different tab items. So we are going to start with the tab panel, and the tab panel will be coded in this base panel. We have our base panel already, and I'm going to go first to my base.py. I already have this imported. Okay, so I'm going to create a class here, and I'm going to call it base panel, and it's going to inherit the tab panel. So for now, I have just pass because I don't want any logic here. Okay, so any code, any business logic or any code level logic is gonna happen here, and any UI related logic is gonna happen in the Kivy language file. Okay, so once I have this, and we can see here that on line 7, my Python file, this is my base Python file, is linked to my base Kivy file. So they kind of like know each other. It means that once I have my base panel already defined in my .py, it can easily be seen in this Kivy language. So here I'm gonna go down here and I'm gonna establish my base panel because it is already defined here in the base.py. So let me panel with single n and make sure I don't have any typo. All right, so now I want to start giving some few properties, that is the UI based logic. Okay, so it's gonna happen here in the Kivy language section. So the first one is gonna be the position of that tab. All right, so we can have different position. So if I look at the source code and I scroll a little bit down, we have the different position that we have here, tab post. So we have the left top, the left middle, the left bottom, and so on. So what I want to use is the left top. So we're gonna see how it looks like. So if I say tap, pause, left, top, okay. So with that, let's see if everything works as expected. All right, so this is what we have. All right, so we can see here that our tab panel comes with a default button called default tab. We won't be needing it because we'll be adding our own button that represents our different tab items. But before we do that, let's see how we can adjust the width and the height of this button because this looks big, right? So in order to do that, we can go ahead and say tab height, and it's gonna be dynamic, of course. So it's gonna take the height of the panel and it's gonna divide it by 15 in this case. So for the tab width, do the same thing. Yeah, we're gonna divide it by 10. All right, so once we run that, so though we can see it is not really visible, but in case we have to change the size of our windows, we can see it changes alongside because it is dynamic. So we use the width and the height of the main windows and divided them by the different numbers that we can see on the screen here. All right, so in this case, like I said previously, we won't be needing the default button. If you want to remove that default button, what you can do is that you can use the do default tab and you set it to false. Once you have that, you can start your application and you see that there's no button. Okay, but that's not how we are going to replace this default button with the, let's say, the home button, because when we start our application we want to see the home item. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. For now, let's just make sure we comment out this. Okay, so it's time for us to build our different tab items. We are going to start with the home item. Okay, so we can go to the home item folder that contains two files, the Kivy language file and the home file, the home.py file, sorry. So we are going to start with the Python file. Okay, here we're going to start by importing the builder that's going to help us to link our Kivy language file to our Python file. So from kivy.lang, import builder, and we're going to import the UIX that is responsible for the item. It's going to be under Kivy UIX tabbed panel. I'm going to import the tab panel item. That's going to help us to build our various items. And from source.util.constant, I'm going to import the base path. Okay, so what that is going to help us with is to link our Python, our Kivy language file to our Python file. So I'll start by using the builder and loading the Python file, the Kivy file in here. All right, so it's going to be a string and start with the base path that leads out to the working directory. From there, I move to the source. From there, I move to the views. From there, I move to the home item. And from the home item, I move to the base, the home.kivy. All right, so with that out of the way, we can now start creating our classes. So I'm going to create just one class here, and the class is going to call home. It's going to be called home item, and it's going to inherit the tab item. Okay, for now I don't want any logic in here. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm going to move now to my home.kivy to add UI related logic. Okay, so we have two ways by which we can call our class into the Kivy language. We can call it with the aim to display it, or we can call it with the aim just to add more configuration to it without calling it. So here I'm gonna just want to add some configuration to it, because it's not going to be called from, it's not going to be called here, it's going to be called from the base.kivy. Okay, so here I just want to add some configuration to some UI related configuration. So all our items are going to have the same UI display. Okay, so I'm going to start with the box layout, and the orientation of this box layout is going to be vertical. It means that all the widget that's gonna be found in my box layout are gonna be displayed vertically. Okay, all of them are gonna have a spacing of 10 dp and padding of 20 dp. Okay, now I'm gonna just have a label here just to easily identify the different item, but I'm gonna change it with more UI related stuff. So the text here for now is gonna be welcome to home, and I'm gonna just put some font size here to be something like 20 dp, and it's gonna be aligned in the center. Okay, with that out of the way, we can move back to our base.kivy, okay, where we want to call the different items. So we have already built the home item. We can call the home item here. Okay, but now there will be a problem because my base.kivy doesn't understand or doesn't have access to this home item, because the home item was built in this folder, home item folder. Okay, so if you go to the base.py, you can see here it loads the base.kivy. It doesn't load the home.kivy. So they don't have any relationship. Okay, so a way to make my base.kivy to be aware of this particular class is, the first thing is you can go to your we can go to the base.py and import that class here, so that my base.kivy will be aware of it. Or we can import it directly into our Kivy file. So I'm going to use that option to import it directly to my Kivy. So in order to import in Kivy, we use this format, #column, then we say import. Once you say import, we use an alias. I'm going to call it home item, just like the name. And now I'm looking for the source, so it's going to be source.views.homeitem home item. All right, so this has been imported and assigned to this alias home item, and now my base.kivy has access to this particular home item class. Okay, next thing is that I want to set an ID for this particular component so that I can easily refer to it later on. So I'm going to call it, the ID is going to be home item, simply. Now the text that's going to be displayed to the button that's going to represent this item, I'm just going to call it H, but I'm going to replace it with an image later on. So with that, let's see if our application runs without any error. So we can see, perfect, we have our button that represents the home item, and the text on it is H for now. You can see the H is kind of like rotated somehow 90 degree, I don't know. And we have welcome to home. All right, so with the same logic, I'll just go ahead and build the remaining items. See you when I'm done. All right, so all the items has been added. So on the base.kivy, you see that I start with the home item at the bottom and moving up. This is because the Kivy panel somehow reads from the bottom upwards. So what am I saying? If I run my application, you will see here that at the top we have the home, but on the panel, okay, on the Kivy language, it is right at the bottom. Okay, so if you want the timer or the T to be at the top, then you have to move this one from top to bottom. So that's how it works in Kivy. All right, so before I forget, you can see if I click on the different item button, they switch to the various items. Okay, so now what we're going to do is that instead of having letters here, we are going to have their respective images. So we're going to download the home icon and other icons that represent the various buttons. So really you can download from any source you want, but I like to use the Google font. So I'm going to go click on the Google font here and switch to the icons just here. Okay, so I have the various icons, Okay, and the home, we're going to try with the home first. I can click on the home and try to configure it the way I want it to be. Okay, so we can see here it is really small, so I can increase it to, let's say, 50, and I can reduce the width all the way down. And yeah, I think that should be it. So I go ahead and download it because the SVG version is not yet supported by Kivy. Okay, it is still an experimental thing. So we want to download the PNG version. So once you download it, you can put it in the asset folder. Okay, in the asset folder, you go to home, to images, and you can paste it there and name it home. Okay, and let's see how we can add this to our Kivy application. So back in our base.kivy, we have downloaded the home icon, so we can go ahead and add it here. So we can use the canvas for that. Canvas can be used to add, graphic related things to our wingettes. So here we're gonna say rectangle. In the rectangle, we're gonna say the source will be from images / home.png. So if we look very well, I think we changed the position of our images from the previous version. So we can see it goes from the asset to images. So I'm gonna say assets / images. Okay, and the position of this image is gonna be, the size is gonna be the size of our home item. Okay, so that it can fit into that box. And also the position is gonna be the position of that home item. All right, so with that, we can go ahead and start our application and see how it looks like. So we have some errors here. All right, probably because I misspelled canvas from canvas to convos. So with that, we can see I have this. All right, so it's kind of like adding the image alongside the text. So here on the text, I'm gonna just remove the text and I can run it again. And now I have my image. But we can see the image is kind of like rotated, or I don't know, rotated 90 degrees probably to the left. Okay, so we want to bring it back to the right, to straight horizontally. So in order to do that, we have so many ways by which you can do it. We can use a package in Python to rotate the image, or we can rotate the image online and use the rotated image rather than using processing power to do that each time we want to display the image. All right, so I'm just gonna rotate the image. Okay, once I've rotated the image, I can just use it here. Again, we can use so many sources to do that, but I like to use I love IMG and the rotate image feature. So here I'm just select the source. All right, so I'm gonna select it here, and I'm gonna rotate it to the right. Okay, because if you rotate it to the left like this, it's not gonna display well. So for it to be straight on your Kivy, we need to rotate it to the right like this. So once that is done, we can go ahead and download it. Okay, so we can see I already did that for all my images. Okay, so we have the art, we have the home, we have the list, and we have the timer. So go ahead and just download them from Google Phone and use the rotate image feature to rotate them to the right. Then download them and add them to your asset / image folder. All right, so if we go ahead and start our application, just to be sure that the home has been rotated the right way, so we can see the home now face up. All right, so let's go ahead and add the other images. So they're gonna be the same. So I'm gonna just copy all of this, including the empty text. So I'm just gonna replace it here, and this one is gonna be at, and here this one is gonna be list, and the last one, last but not least, is gonna be timer. Okay, so once I have that, I can run my application again, and I see I have everything as expected. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is to try to change the buttons once they are activated. For example, if I click on the home page, we can see the respective item shows here or displays here, is displayed here, but the button doesn't change, so we can actually tell from which button here is active. Okay, so there are so many ways we can do this. All right, so I think the most easiest way to do it is to, when you click on the button, for example the home page, I'm going to change this icon to a modified icon. Like for example, change the image, the color of the icon so that it can show blue or green, whatever. Okay, so for that I'm going to go back to my Google phone, and right here I can say, okay, for all the images that all the icons that we downloaded, we can change. Let's say for this one I'm gonna say, all right, so once it is active, it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be blue. You can use whatever image you want, or you can add the weight. Okay, so once it is active, it's gonna have this width, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. Okay, so at the end of the day, if it doesn't look good, we can adjust it. Okay, so go ahead and download like this for all the various icons. All right, so I had it downloaded already and also rotated already. So we have here, and these names are carefully selected. Okay, for the active button, we have the /active attached to them, so you're gonna understand why. So going back to the code. Now the main reason is that, let's make sure we understand what we are doing again. So okay, so once I'm here and I click on, let's say, add, we want this image to be replaced with the activated one, the one that has been customized. Okay, the same thing with this, and so on and so forth, so that we can easily track where we are. All right. Okay, so we have so many ways we can do this. We can clear the winget that is responsible for this image and add another one, but that method is not really optimized. If the user have to keep clicking on this button, okay, it's gonna be slow a little bit. Okay, so have an optimized way to do this. We are going to create a custom winget. All right, the custom winget is going to help us to update the various images. Okay, so because, why am I talking about custom winget, is because the winget is going to affect all the different items. Okay, so instead of repeating the code throughout the Python file, we want to have this customized winget in the winget folder. All right, and import it to the various item Python classes. So right here I'm going to create item header image.py. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to import from Kivy.uix.winget. We want to import winget. Okay, so winget is just like a generic UIX. Okay, because all the other UIX inherit from the winget, like the label, the box layout, and so on and so forth. So once we have that, we can create our class. We're gonna call it item header. What's the name? Header image wingets, and it's gonna inherit winget. Okay, so the source of our image is gonna be set from this property. So it's gonna be a string property because it's gonna contain strings. Okay, so in Kivy we can set this to be a string property by importing from Kivy properties, import string property. Okay, so here we were gonna set it to string property. Okay, it's just like a reserve entity that's gonna take in string later on. And for our init, we are going to use the canvas, because the canvas is always responsible for this kind of graphics like images. Okay, now we are going to use the this with canvas serve.canvas after, meaning that this winget is going to be applied after everything has taken place in the let's say in the item. Okay, after everything has taken place in the item, this winget is going to apply. That's why we have after here. So with that, we can set some few instructions here. So I'm going to create the rectangle. Okay, in our previous previously we saw that the rectangle, the image is set up in the rectangle. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing here, and we're gonna import the rectangle. So from Kivy graphics, we're gonna import rectangle, and with the rectangle here, we're gonna set it. The source is gonna be serve.image source. It's gonna be set. Okay, and the position is going to be serve post, and the size is going to be serve size. And now this is the interesting part. Here we're going to bind it like a listener. Okay, we're going to bind it such that the position is going to be changed by a function. Okay, so we're going to define a function. Let's call it define rect, and the size is going to be set by the function as and the same function update rect, and the image source is going to be set by the same function update rect. Now down here, our update rect, so our update rect is going to just update everything. All right, so it takes in an extra property. So the serve instruct rect the position of this guy, all right, because it has been set to the rectangle, and we bind it to these various the position is bind to this method, and the size and the image source. So here is gonna be serve.post, serve.rect. The next one is gonna be size by serve.size, and the last one is gonna be image source, or the source. Okay, the source is gonna be assigned to the image source. Okay, so the post, the size, and the source are properties of our rectangle. Okay, so this binding here takes place, and the update is going to update them with the values, okay, coming from, let's say, the image source that is going to be set, the position that come from, the size that come from serve, okay, that come from is the inbuilt position of the winget itself, okay, and the position as well. All right, so this is our custom winget. Okay, this custom winget is going to be used to change the image, okay, once we click on it. All right, so next thing what we're going to do is that we're going to import this our custom winget to all our items. So in the home item, for example, we're gonna say from source dot winget dot item header image import how did I call it? I'm gonna import this. So once I import that, I'm gonna inherit. Okay, my home item is gonna inherit it. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing for all the other items. So let's go to the list item. I'm gonna import it here and inherit item header. Do the same thing for our time tracker. And lastly, do the same thing with our add reminder. All right, so now in the base.kivy, so rather than having the image set up like this, okay, we're gonna remove this. All right, so I'm just gonna copy the source image. So I'm gonna remove all of this. All right, okay. So what we're going to do, you see that this guy inherited our custom winget, and our custom winget define the image source. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we're just gonna say image source, and it's gonna be set to whatever image we are using. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. Let's make sure that the name here is image source. All right, no typos, please. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing here for the home, image source, same thing here, and same thing here. Okay, let's just make sure everything works as expected. Okay, so we'll have some error there in our custom widgets. This one was a typo errors here, so I'm gonna fix that real quick and gonna start our application. All right, so apparently we have a lot of typos errors going on. All right, that's crazy. Okay, let me fix that. Hopefully that's the only typo errors that we have. Okay, so we can see we have all our images. Okay, they're working as expected. Now we want to make sure that once we click on this, it's going to call a method, and the method is going to activate this. Okay, same thing here. When we click here, it's going to call the same method, and the method is going to activate this. Okay, it's going to activate this and disable everything that was activated previously. All right, so because this method, the method that's going to activate all of them, is going to be applied to all of these items, I'm going to have it defined in the base class. Okay, gonna have it defined here in the base class. Okay, so I'm gonna just call it activate item, and it's gonna take in the item that needs to be activated. Okay, so the process here is that I'm gonna disable or deactivate the other item and activate the chosen item. Okay, so in order to do that, I need to have access to all the other items. Okay, so that's why the IDs are very important. So if I come back to if I go to the base.kivy, I can see all of them have an ID. Okay, so this ID uniquely identify each of these items. So for me to have access to these IDs from my base grid layout, I'll need to define them somewhere here. So I'm going to say add reminder item. It's going to be assigned to add reminder item. Okay, what else do we have? Home. Maybe I'll start with home. And after the add, I have the list. And last but not least, I have the time tracker. So once I have this declared here, I can go back to my base.py and have them defined in the class. Okay, have them define this class so that I can use serve.to in order to access them. Okay, so I have them defined down here, and I'm gonna use the from Kivy properties import objects property. Okay, so this is gonna be an object property because I want it to link to these objects. So this item object. Okay, the previous one we did represented a string. Okay, but this one represents the item object itself. So when you're representing object, you use the object property. When you're representing string property, and list property exists as well, and others. So yeah, I'm gonna replace all of that with this and equals to sign, of course. Okay, And last but not least, okay, now I have access to all of these. All right, so the next thing I want to do is that I want to deactivate the other items. Okay, so I'm going to loop, okay, loop through all the items. So I'm going to say for item, yeah, I'm going to put choosing item and I will say from item in, all right, serve home item. There could be better ways to do this. Add reminder, list, time. So while looping through the various items, if we come across a chosen item, we just keep it. Okay, so if item equals to chosen item, then we continue. Else, we check if that item was activated and we deactivate it. How do we do that? How do we check it? The icons that are meant to be used during activation have the underscore active at the end. So we're going to extract the name of that image, then we check if active is found in that particular name. Okay, so right here we're gonna say the name of the item. Okay, it's gonna be a list, of course, because when we split it, it's gonna come back as a list. So item.source image source, and we split it at underscore. So it's gonna separate the name and the active, if active is found in that particular image name. So once we have that, we want to check if active.png is in the item source list. If it is there, then we want to go ahead and remove it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that we're going to say item.source image source equals to, we have this, because once we break it, for example, for an image like home underscore active.png, once we split it, the item at index 0 is going to be home, which is the name of the normal image, and the active is the second item in that list. Okay, so we want to extract the first item and we add in the .png to it. Okay, so it's gonna switch from the active version to the normal version. So once we have that, we break from this loop. Why are we breaking from the loop after we've done just one change? Because our item, for our items, for our panel, only one item will be active at a time. Okay, so once we deactivate it, we can go ahead and now activate the chosen item. Okay, so how do we do that? We say item.image source is going to be equals to, we want to extract the image that was there already, and we add the active.png. So before we add the active.png, if it was first of all home.png, we want to make sure we remove first of all this. Okay, we remove the extension, then we add active.the extension. So in order to do that, I'm going to split at dot, and I'm going to extract the first item. All right, so once we have that, and hopefully no typos here, we can go back to our base.kivy and we can say on release. So once this guy is released, we are going to call the method that we just created, the activate icon, activate item. So we can see it is found in the base grid layout, and to get to that base grid layout, we need to use app.root. Then we call the name, and we pass in serve that represents the item we are trying to activate. So we are going to do the same for everything, for all the items. Okay, all our items. Okay, so we go ahead and start it, hopefully no typos, error, and we can see if we click on this, okay, it doesn't work as expected. Let's see what errors we have. So after looking keenly, I saw that here I had to add underscore active.png. So because we can see here at the level of the name, we have the home underscore active at underscore active. So I have to do the same thing here. So it's gonna be underscore here. All right, so I'm gonna try it again just to be sure everything is working. So once we click here, okay, it doesn't seem to work. So while looking at the problem, I saw that here. Okay, so here we are activating, we're not activating the chosen item. We are instead activating the last item from this for loop. So here it's gonna be, it needs to be chosen item, and here chosen item. Okay, so that we can activate the chosen item down here. All right, so hopefully this time is gonna be the last time and everything's gonna work as expected. So if I click here, so we can see everything works as expected. So the color may not be that bright, but I hope we can see it, that the color changes. All right, so now the last thing I want to do is to make sure that the home is activated by default, because we can see if I restart my application, nothing is activated, but the home page is displayed here. So we want to make sure this is activated by default. All right, so for that we will go to the base.kivy and look for the home item. So here, instead of having this to be home.png, we're gonna have home active.png, so that it's gonna be active by default. So if we restart our application, we can see the home is active, and we click on plus, it deactivates the home and activate the plus. Same thing with the timer, it activates the timer and deactivate everything else. So that's it about the skeleton of our application. In our next video, we are going to look at the add reminder item. That's going to help us to add reminder into our application. That also means that we are going to connect a database to our application. So it's going to be a lot that we will do in our next video. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, to share and comment in order to support the content. Code with Eno. See you in the next video.